Sometimes the best stories in golf aren't found on tour. You'll find them at the back of the range. And here's your host, Ben Adelberg.
Thanks again for joining me here at the back of the range. I am your host, Ben Adelberg. This is episode 38. Well, it may have taken a while, but the BMW Championship did finish, I think. And yeah, Keegan Bradley picked up his first win in about 6 years. You know, it's hard to root against guys like Keegan and Webb Simpson. These guys became major champions, and then the USGA told them that they had to find another way to putt so they could continue, working for a living. I'm not sure why anchoring was something that had to be banished immediately from the game of golf, but, that's another episode entirely. But all the best to Keegan, the rest of the guys heading to East Lake and the Tour Championship, and yes, our new number one, Justin Rose. My weekend, well, special shout out to a couple baseball legends that I actually got to play some golf with. I got paired with Livan Hernandez and his brother Orlando. You may know Orlando by another name, El Duque. Super cool guys to play golf and hang out with. They told some great baseball stories, some golf stories as well, and you never know. You might be hearing some more from them down the road. 3,000 strikeouts between them, 5 World Series rings, and still very cool, very humble. There's a pretty cool picture that we took after the round. You know where you can find that photo, don't you? You can find a lot of stuff over on Instagram. Yes, we are on Instagram. We're there at the Back of the Range podcast. Don't forget, we're also on Facebook and Twitter. We have lots of new fun golf swag to give away just to kind of get the name out there. We have towels, hats, beer koozies, all with our logo on them. We're just getting rid of them. Leave a review in Apple Podcasts. Hit me up with a message of encouragement or tell me you're bored and you have a suggestion. Really, let me know what you think of the podcast. And don't forget, we have a little thing called Free Towel Tuesdays where, you leave a couple comments on Instagram, we pick a couple winners, and we get these towels flying out of here, get them in your hands. That way you can take them, use them on the course. So this week's guest is Michael Kartrude. I've known Michael for a few years while I've watched him play golf around Palm Beach County as an amateur. He has since turned professional, and while he has played on the mini tours around Florida and all around the country, he's now competing on a regular basis on the Mackenzie Tour. Yes, Canada. He told me some funny stories about some of his rookie mistakes getting around on tour. Put it this way, playing golf might not be his biggest obstacle. You'll see what I mean when you listen to the episode. Now, these mini tour guys need to find some extra source of income here and there, so Michael found a job at a golf course around town. A lot of pros do it, just to help out in the bag room, pick up some tips, clean the range, stuff like that. No big deal. Everyone's done it. Except one thing about his job made it a little bit unique. He worked at the Bears Club. Yep, Jack's place. I'm sorry, Mr. Nicholas's place. Let's see, who hangs out there? Rory, DJ, Jason Day, Luke Donald, Michael bleeping Jordan. Yep, they all hang around at the Bears Club, and when the tour guys aren't on tour, they have to have a place to practice. And Michael had a few stories to share about his time at the Bears Club. Michael even told the story about how we met at the 2008 Florida State Amateur. It's an embarrassing story for him, but more importantly, it's embarrassing for me as well. So I let him pick on me a bit. I didn't even edit the story out, so, extra points for me. One more thing, I do it all the time, but I really do appreciate everyone supporting the Back of the Range. If you're enjoying it, let me know. If you're not, let me know that too, but keep spreading the word. Share it on Facebook and Twitter. I know it takes a little bit of time out of your day, but it would mean the world, so please go ahead and do so. So let's get started with this week's episode. Mr. Kartrude, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me here at the Back of the Range.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. So we've known each other for quite a long time growing up in South Florida. I have been the older mid-am hack. You've been the younger stalwarts in Palm Beach County, playing exceptional golf throughout your amateur career, now your professional career. As we typically do on this episode, we like to give the listeners a little bit of background on our guest. So if you can just kind of give us a brief synopsis of how you got into the game of golf.
So I played a lot of baseball growing up and really I wanted to play baseball. And then my dad kind of got me into it about 8th, 9th grade and took me to hit some range balls and just started going from there. And really it was just as like a hobby. And my baseball coach came up to me one day and said, "Hey, you got a chance at some kind of a scholarship if you really go hard into baseball." And he said, "But I had to quit golf." And I said, "Absolutely not going to happen." And,
Nice.
that was the best decision he ever made for me. So I ended up quitting baseball and played golf. And I said, "Well, I'm not very good at golf, so I better get good fast."
So wait a minute. So you had so he saw potential in you in baseball, and then you just love golf that much that you're like, well, I'm just gonna just figure out a way to get better.
I was decent. I was good, but I was never gonna make it in baseball. I'm 5'10", 160. Like, I've got no chance.
glad you brought that up, so I don't have to tell people how short you are. So anyway,
right. Thanks.
No problem. So so you quit baseball. You're playing golf. You start playing high school golf. What was your process getting through high school, getting to play at the collegiate level? What did that process look like for you?
So what happened was, when I started playing high school golf, my ninth grade year, I averaged about 54 on 9 holes. And then by the time my senior year came around, I got it down to a 37 average. So that was pretty good. I had never shot my first round under par until my last match of high school golf ever. So I was a pretty late starter, to say the least.
Yeah, late bloomer. But you get yourself into playing college golf. Now, where'd you play collegiately?
So I started out at a teeny tiny little school in Lake Wales, Florida, called Warner University. And that the only reason I went there was because they really had a startup team. And that was the only team I could even play for, because, like I said, I had no resume. So I got there, and we went to our first tournament. And all of a sudden I shot 67, 70, and boom, I was like, okay, wow, I can do this.
Yeah, you're off to the races.
Yeah, so went from there. I ended up keeping about a little over a 72 average my freshman year, and ended up leaving Warner after a semester, after a year and a half, because the coach ended up getting let go, or there was a series of situations. They threatened to kind of like cancel the golf program. Didn't know what was. The golf program was in limbo, so I moved back to West Palm and played amateur events.
So this is kind of interesting, because we've had numerous guests on the podcast where they've come from all different walks of life, as far as their golf upbringing, so to speak. Whether it's coming from a family of golfers, where where mother or father are head pro, or coming from similar to you, like just a baseball background where nothing much happened in their amateur days. I mean, you had success in Palm Beach County, winning events and setting course records, but you don't have the typical D1 college golf background. But you turned professional. Now, what prompted the decision for you to turn professional and chase the dream of playing on the PGA Tour?
So I had, like you said, I won a local county event, which really isn't that big of a deal, but it's the people around West Palm. It's kind of a big deal around here. We got a lot of good golfers, but I won that tournament shooting a 62 in the final round, which is great. And that to me is like, okay, wow. Okay. I don't need to shoot. I don't have to just shoot 68, 69. I can go lower. And when I realized I could go lower, the year after that, I finished in the top 10, and I believe it was in the top 10 in all the county events I played in. And I won player of the year without winning a tournament, which is kind of odd, but, so I felt like, you know what, I could get that. I could go to the next level. I can get my game better. And, I talked to my coach, Martin Hall, about potentially turning pro. And he said, I don't see what good being an amateur does. You're not in college anymore. Might as well start playing against better competition. So I made the jump. I decided to turn pro and start on the minor league tour here in West Palm.
Sure. And, you mentioned Martin Hall. I'm glad you brought that up. So, a lot of aspiring young professionals, whether or not they have status on tour or if they're toiling on many tours in the area, they may work with a guy at the local club. They may work with some, someone they've known at the local driving range for years. But your coach is Martin Hall, who, as many people know who watch the Golf Channel, he does the Golf Channel Academy. He is a very well-known coach. I believe he's still out at IBIS in West Palm Beach. Is that correct?
He is. He's still out. And he juggles the Golf Channel, IBIS, and everything else all at the same time. He works extremely hard. Like he's as good as it gets for a coach.
Yeah, and how did you get with him? I mean, how was that choice made? And what do people that are listening to the podcast that only know what they see of him on TV, what can you tell me about Martin Hall as a coach and as someone that you work with on a one-on-one basis?
So Martin Hall is as advertised. He is as nice of a guy as it gets.
So that accent is real, is what you're saying.
That accent is real. The gadgets are real. The gizmos are real. That whole thing is real. And with Martin in that show, he puts 110% into that show, and he means and he cares everything about that whole show. He's as advertised. He's a great guy, and he loves his students. But so when I was in high school, my dad told me that if I can ever start breaking 80 consistently, we could get a pro. We could look into, someone giving me some lessons. So my dad taught me the basics, as everybody else, keep your right arm tucked, left arm stiff, keep your head down, post up finish. And that's about all he could do for me. And then we went and saw Martin, and he was great. He took me right there, thought that I had some, potential and had some want to do this. And, really, you just contact his assistant, and he'd love to have you. And he took me from about an 8-9 handicap to a scratch within 6 months.
Wow, that's some pretty good work. Is Blair O'Neill at your lessons too, or is that's not?
No, that's not in the picture. I asked him one time. I said, "Hey, Martin, what's it like working with the girls that you work with?" He goes, why don't you hit a 5-iron a little bit better next time.
So he just didn't want to get into that conversation.
No, he wanted nothing to do with that. He goes,
on.
you can find out. He said, you can find out if you lead the world ranking and lead the world in proximity of the hole from 200 yards.
Oh, okay. All right. Wow. That's I guess you have something to work for there. So
right. Yeah,
so nice.
So.
All right. So you work with Martin Hall now. One of the interesting things too. Now, I remember this distinctly. I forget exactly where I was, but I pick up a copy of Golf Digest or Golf Magazine or which one, whatever it is, and after you read the articles on the pros and you leaf through the 97 pages of advertisements for gadgets and golf vacations, they have their instruction areas, and I'm leafing through. I'm like, okay, that one's for how to make more 6-footers, and they got some guy holding a putter, and then there's another one for how to hit the cut, and then there's another one for tempo, and I'm like, shit, that looks like Michael Kartrude. And sure enough, it is. You're in Golf Digest as one of the, I guess, swing models. Is that kind of the phrase we should use for this?
That's what it is. A swing model. That's exactly what it is.
You are eye candy for the golfing public. How did that happen? How the hell did that happen? Where like all of a sudden, like, hey, you want to be in Golf Digest?
Yeah. So he says one day we're having a lesson. He goes, Mike, I got a question for you. I said, yeah. He goes, how would you like to be a swing model for me in Golf Digest? I said, absolutely, I'd love it. That'd be awesome.
Do I get to keep the clothes? Is that what you asked?
Yeah. Well, that's what happened. And he says to me, well, you're going to receive a phone call from Marty Hackle this afternoon. And I said, well, who's Marty Hackle? He goes, he's the guy. Yeah, I didn't know who he was. So he goes, yeah, he's the Golf Digest. He kind of suits you up with the clothing, makes everybody look good, up to date, whatever. And I talked to Marty that night. He's like, hey, we're going to send you an outfit or two we got 2 photo shoots. We'll send you 2 outfits. A week later, I've got 3 boxes at my door. I've got Under Armour shoes. I've got Under Armour hats, belts, shirts. I got 6 shirts. I got 4 pairs of pants. I'm like, this is phenomenal. This is great. And I was extremely happy with it. And that was the first thing I asked when I got to the photo shoot. I said, so do I have to give these back, or can I just keep these for myself?
Yeah,
it's like, well, we don't.
Yeah, no, Ricky. Yeah, no, Ricky. They're all yours. So describe for me so you did this photo shoot. Was it at IBIS where you did the photo shoot?
So we did one at IBIS. And we did the other at the Medalist Par 3 course.
Nice.
In the back of the property, which was really cool. I mean, because the Medalist gets a lot of press for all of its, pros and Tiger and Greg Norman and whatever else, but no one knows about the cool Par 3 course in the back, it's really a phenomenal place.
So you do the photo shoot now. You do it for Tempa. Now, how long is the process for that? And I mean, are they just asking you to do it again, or stand here, do that? I mean, is it, what's the process for doing those things?
It's a couple-hour process. They're taking photos, they're taking pictures of Martin, they're taking pictures of myself. They're wanting the ball to get in the right spot. They're wanting you to hit it the right way. They're wanting you to pose, and it's kind of a weird process. I mean, you got to get the lighting right. I think they've taken 25 photos of you, 30 photos of you. I'm like, okay, we're good. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, we got to do them again. And it's kind of a cool process the way they do it. And Martin's right there, and he's kind of narrating the whole thing. And he actually did a live feed one time for golfchannel.com, and it was impressive to watch. I mean, he only needed one take. He was good to go. I mean, he's a class act. He's really good at it. But that whole episode, that whole thing that he does there it's phenomenal. It's great.
So that had to have been an amazing experience. You do that, and then obviously this just gives you a little bit more. I mean, it's got to give you more confidence. I mean, I know it's one issue of a magazine and it's a photo shoot, but to have Martin Hall back, recommend you for this photo shoot, it's got to give you confidence in moving forward, because you're kind of a mini tour guy. You're not a big name, but you're in this magazine because of your golf swing and your setup and your coach. So you take that confidence and you're playing the mini tours. But how did you make the decision as to which tour and which route you wanted to take to help you get closer to the PGA Tour?
The photo shoot and all that gives me, it's a lot of confidence. When the photos came out in the magazine, I took the magazines, I cut the photos out, and I framed them, and I have some extra magazines, because that may never happen again. It might happen more,
Sure.
I don't know, but it was cool, and I have them framed, and so it's definitely a confidence booster. It's I think it's cool. I like it. But so picking tours and where to go, I was playing on the minor league tour for a few years, just trying to play a lot of as many events as I can, and still play them, and whenever I can. But I had a really rough month about 5 years ago. I got into a bad swing funk. I had a really, really rough month, and I said, well, I got to figure something out here. I need to make some money somehow.
Yeah.
So I decided to put an application in for some really cool courses around here to have kind of a winter job, during the winter time when season's around. And I figured I'm going to put in for the 5 best golf courses I could think of around here: Medalist, MacArthur, Bears Club, Old Marsh, Jupiter Hills. And I got a call back from the head pro at the Bears Club and I kind of nailed the interview, and he took me on at the Bears Club. And while I was at the Bears Club, after 3.5, 4 years of working there, I had a few people, that I put some time in, practice, and they took notice to it, and they asked me if I had ever thought about Canada, and I said, yeah, I've thought about it. I just can't go. I don't,
right.
I need some help, and they offered some help, and so that's where I'm at. I'm up in Canada.
Well, and we're gonna talk about Canada and some of your other about your experiences playing, PGA Tour, the Mackenzie Tour up in Canada, and some of your exploits. But you mentioned the Bears Club, so I can't let that go without kind of asking you about that. I mean, it's one thing to have just kind of a side job to help pay the bills and help save money for travel expenses and things like that, but man, this seems like just an amazing experience where you not only get some financial help to play the tour and get some experience, but I mean, who the hell are you seeing? I mean, who aren't you seeing at the Bears Club and just feeding off what they're doing? I can't imagine you have any shortage of stories from the professionals you see at the Bears Club.
Yeah, well, first off, the Bears Club is, like you said, it's an absolute class place, with Jack running it, and stemming from the head pro all the way down. Everyone there is just class people. The pros are, we have somewhere around 30 pros there, and it's all the names you possibly could want. And the membership's great, but seeing people at the Bears Club, I mean, we have members such as, Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas, Brandon Grace, Alex Noren, McDonald, Ernie Els. It's Yeah, it's you see a lot of people, Michelle Wee. I mean, a lot of people come through there. And it's really cool.
And when
It's
you're
really
there, and when you're there working, and you just kind of get to see them, is the Bears Club a place where the pros prefer to be more, off on their own doing their thing, and maybe the normal or the non, touring professional members, they kind of leave them alone, or are they more fitting in with the membership there?
You know what? I think it's a little bit of both. It depends on what they're doing. If they're there to play golf and hang out, they'll fit right in. They'll go in the locker room, they'll BS around, and it's great. And but you can tell when it's time to work, they get to work. And it's good to watch. It's good to see. I mean, so sometimes during the Florida Swing, we'll have other guys show up, and there's some guys like Alex Noren, who's just a class act. He's just a great guy. I mean, if someone's struggling on the range, he'll stop what he's doing and he'll come over and talk to you. And there's guys like Rory, when he's on the range, he's got 3-4 guys around him. It's his team. He's at work. He's in his office. I mean, so the guys handle it differently, but it's so good to watch each practice session and see how they handle it. And it's unique. It's cool.
What are some of the things that you're trying to get where they are? You're there doing your job at the Bears Club, and you're there for your purpose. They're there for their purpose, but your eyes are open. I'm assuming your eyes are open, your ears are open. What are some of the things that you've noticed and you've seen? Okay, I need to incorporate that into my practice session, or I'm going to steal that drill.
Yeah, watching Jason Day when he comes down during Florida Swing, watching him practice is pretty spectacular. Like he's got his caddy out there with him, and they're scattering balls across kind of a teeing area, and the caddy's got the rangefinder right there, and he's hitting the red flag out on the left, short flag, 78 yards, and Jason Day he'll sit there like it's the final round of the U.S. Open, and he will hit that shot like he's trying to win. And then the next ball, it'd be like, all right, flags back, deep right on the driving range is 225. Jason Day will get out and he will go through his whole routine, and it's a very precise thing, and he'll do that for an hour, just one ball at a time. And you can tell he's wore out by the time he's done, because it's like playing real golf. And they get so precise. I mean, you watch these guys hit. They're never just beating rocks in the middle of the range. I mean, they're always doing something with a purpose. And,
right. So that's basically something that listeners of this podcast that work on their games, they need to kind of take, that's something to keep in mind. Here's Jason Day, just hitting. He's not just hitting balls. He's basically rehearsing a round of golf in high level professional pressure and trying to replicate it as best as possible.
Absolutely. And that's the thing I think that you see. I watch our regular members, even our decent members, compared from them to the tour pros, is the precision of practice. And I think that's what you see from amateur, high level amateur, mini tour pro, web pro, professional PGA Tour, is the level at which they practice. It's I mean, obviously just because you practice high level doesn't guarantee you to the PGA Tour, but it certainly will improve your golf game dramatically.
Yeah.
Precision is probably, I think getting more precise with your practice is 100%.
Sure. Let's see. I want to talk. So I don't want to get completely into just all of the inner workings of the Bears Club. Got to respect the membership. Got to respect the privacy of them there. But I'm sure there's got to be at least one funny story from your time working at the Bears Club that you can share about some of these guys.
Yeah, there's plenty. One that comes to the top of my head is Jason Day, and it was that same day I was watching him. He was grinding in the back of the range. Hours. He's back there hitting balls. Well, Dustin Johnson shows up, and Dustin gets out. He gets on the front of the range, and he's got his track man out, and Dustin hits about 15, 20, 25 shots as track man, and Jason's right next to him, kind of really working hard. And I remember I was watching Dustin, and he kind of gets on his phone a little bit and talks on the phone for about 15 minutes over by the range house, and then he kind of walks over to the putting green, rolls a few putts, and that was it. Dustin left. That was his full practice. It took about an hour at the most, 45 minutes. Half of it was he's on the phone. Jason Day walks over, me at the range house. I'm kind of organizing range house there situation, and Jason goes, "Hey, like, is that Dustin's routine? I mean, I've been here for like 2 weeks. I've seen him like 3 times, and that's usually what he does. And I was like, yeah, that's about it. And he's like, man, wish I had that kind of talent. I gotta work my butt off just to keep where I'm at. And he's over here 20 minutes on the phone, a few range balls here. Yeah, it's just amazing the talent that DJ's got. But Jason was like, well, that sucks. I'm working my butt off here, and this guy's like doing whatever, number one player in the world. So
yeah. So you're spending your time at Bears Club. You're learning from the guys that are at the spot where you are ultimately trying to get to. But you know, when you get out of the Bears Club and you move on, and when you're out of the Bears Club and you're trying to compete on your own game and your own tournaments, you mentioned you went to play Canada. So you're a Florida guy. You know, Canada's not exactly a direct flight to just about anywhere. What was your first event on the Mackenzie Tour? Like, how did you get started there? You know, whether it's, you know, Monday qualifying, or, you know, how did you get going there? And what was the culture shock like, you know, getting this far away from home?
Okay, so last year, this is my second summer playing the Mackenzie Tour, having status on the Mackenzie Tour. And last year, I was pretty pumped, was excited. I got some status through qualifying, and I was ready to go. I'm headed to Vancouver. About a month out, I got my hotel, got my car, got my rental car, got my tournaments picked out. I'm ready to go last summer. So I'm excited. I'm ready to go to Vancouver. Never been to Canada, or, you know, I'm excited. So I get we leave my apartment at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning to catch a 5:30 flight out of Fort Lauderdale. It's early in the morning. Remember, I've been prepared for this for a month. So I get all the way down to the airport. I scan my passport. It's not scanning. Scan it again. It's not scanning. It's 5:30. It's 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? This is not right. So I look at the passport and I go, oh no.
Passport
I
expired.
grabbed my old passport instead of my new passport.
Oh, rookie.
So step one, missed the flight. Okay, great. So they put me on a next flight out about 6 hours later. So this is going to be great. It's going to land me in Vancouver at midnight. So great. So I get on the plane, land in Vancouver. All right, I'm here. This is going to be fine. Go to the rental car places. They're closed. Great. This is great. I'm stuck in an airport. Sure. I don't know where I am. I don't have money. I don't have Canadian money yet. I don't know what I'm doing. Luckily, one guy saw me standing there just about ready to, I'm about to sleep in the parking lot. And the guy goes, here, man, I'll get you a car. So needless to say, he charged me an outrageous amount for a one-night car. And so the next day, I get the car. I drive all the way to my hotel, but I get there about like 2 in the morning. Finally, go from the hotel the next morning back to the Vancouver airport to drop off my rental car that I got. Well, okay. I didn't realize that the original rental car I got was from a Hertz in the city of Vancouver, not at the airport. There's my other mistake. So, oh, man, I'm just rookie mistakes left and right. So I get on a train, get myself into the heart of the city of Vancouver, go to my spot where I get the rental car, and they're like, yeah, you didn't show up yesterday for your rental car because you missed your flight, so we let your rental car go. So you're going to have to wait like 4 or 5 hours to get another one. So I'm sitting there for 4 or 5 hours waiting for my next car. So all this is going on. I'm getting frustrated. So they end up telling me after 4 hours sitting there, like, well, we're not going to have a car for you today. Great. So I've wasted 2 days now. So finally get another taxi, get to a place that has a rental car. I get the rental car, try to get back to my hotel. If anybody knows Vancouver rush hour traffic, to leave the city of Vancouver, it takes about 3 hours to get out of that city. It's ridiculous. Traffic is nuts. Get back to my hotel room. Finally, it's night. I think I've got everything settled. I'm good. Next day, get to the golf course. It's called Swanee Set. It's a Monday qualifier. First Monday qualifier for Canada. Now I get there. I find out a cool fact about the golf course at Swanee Set, by the way. They filmed a good portion of Happy Gilmore there. Pretty sweet. The whole go to your home scene was filmed there.
Oh, nice.
Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. So play a nice little practice round. Golf course is kind of funky. It's a little odd. Greens are a little odd. I wake up the next day, 7:45 tee time, go out, shoot 68, tie for first in the Monday qualifier. I'm in Canada that week.
That's That's ridiculous that you went through all that nonsense.
I'm all over the place, forgetting passports, missing flights, can't get a rental car, trying to get out of the city, just stressful. Never been.
But if we just get you on the golf course, you're fine.
Yeah, just put me there. I'm fine. But doing everything else, I've gotten much better at it.
Okay, we'll see. So you get there, you Monday qualify. Now, a lot of people may not know the dynamic of the Canadian Tour. A lot of great players have graduated from that tour, made it to the big tour, whether we're talking about, Mackenzie Hughes or Tony Finau, they've made it their way. But what's the culture? What's the dynamic of that tour?
The dynamic of that tour is getting to the tournament, and it's basically a race it's an absolute race to how low can you go. This year's scores on the tour, you've had 25 under multiple times. You've had 25 under through 3 rounds of golf at one event. You've had 6 under par cuts. These guys are good, man. The Canadian Tour is really, really good. Anybody who doesn't know, this year, just in the graduating class this year, I don't know all the names left and right, but Chase Wrights, graduated from Webb this year, and Kramer Hickok graduating from Webb this year. There's plenty of guys that are on the Webb and PGA coming right out of Canada, and it's a strong tour. It's a really strong tour now.
Now, is it, and those are amazing scores, and I know that there are players that shoot those scores, all over the country, whether it's on, Webb or Mackenzie Tour, Latin America Tour, even the PGA Tour. But is it, and I'm just asking not to degrade any of the talent that's out there, but is it because of, course setup or pin positions, or is it just that these guys just are that good? What are the lengths of some of these courses, and what are kind of some of the setups? Is it just bomb driver and just knocking wedges close, or are these, what are kind of the setups that you're dealing with?
Well, setup wise, I would say most of the golf courses are between about 68 to 7,100 yards. A lot of the golf courses are, obviously you're not playing TPC Sawgrass. You're not playing those kind of golf courses. So a lot of them you can get, and if the winds die down or it has rained in the last couple of days, it softens up the greens. And if you get any kind of soft conditions out there, these guys are going to tear it up. So yeah. I've played practice rounds with some guys, and they say that, the pins should be, 3 from the edge, 4 off the front versus 7 from the edge, 8 off the front. They think that, if you tuck the pins a little more, that scores will be higher. I'm not quite sure if that's the situation, because it seems like these guys go low no matter what. They're great golf courses. I think they're in great shape. The Canadian Tour does a great job of getting nice venues, and travel all over the country. You travel from Vancouver to Nova Scotia to Montreal, Toronto, and you're going all over the place.
What's your favorite stop so far? What's your favorite city in Canada?
Man, Vancouver's incredible. Victoria's incredible. Nova Scotia was a lot of fun. They canceled that event this year due to the host hotel burnt down, and a lot of unfortunate situations.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah, it does affect things. But when you go out to Calgary, you take a rental car and drive to Banff, and the mountains in Banff and Jasper and Banff National Park are absolutely incredible. So those are BC and Alberta are probably the 2 best spots.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen on your Instagram and your social media platforms some of the pictures you've posted. I'm gonna take those and let people, some of our listeners, see some of those pictures. And yeah, those look like amazing courses out there. Wow. So give me an example. You already gave me your example of your first experience getting into a Monday qualifier after just a planes, trains, and automobiles adventure to get out there. But you recently had a Monday qualifier in Toronto, and that didn't go great, but you just embarked on a huge trip east. So tell me about that week.
So in the last 2 years, I've Mondayed into seven Canadian events. Just kind of nuts. But when you're doing Monday qualifiers, you've got to kind of Sometimes you need a backup plan. Sometimes you need to have situations. So I
Hold
flew to
on,
Toronto.
hold on. I'm sorry. Let me cut you off. So, before you tell me about Toronto, you just mentioned something about, qualifying for, you said 7, you successfully got into 7 Monday qualifiers, right?
Yes. Mondayed into 7 in the last 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
6 last year, 1 this year.
Okay. So I just want to have listeners get an idea. We always like to get a behind the scenes idea on the mentality of touring professionals. How do you mentally approach Monday qualifiers?
Number one, you absolutely have to play well. There is no other way around that. If you're trying not to shoot high, you're done. If you're trying not to make a double, you're done. You've got to mentally go in there one shot at a time, ball in the fairway, ball in the green, make your putt, and really try to get your way around the golf course. And if you make a mistake, get ready to recover. Like, you cannot let it go. You have to shoot something in the 60s. Have to. I mean, every once in a while you can get away with something shooting maybe high 60s, but for the most part, you got to shoot in the mid 60s. And it's about showing up and just making it happen. If you look at Monday qualifiers, guys all over the country are shooting 67 or better to get into these months to qualify for tournaments, and they're doing it under the gun. So it's a mental grind, and it's tough, because if you miss the Monday, you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know when you're going to get your next paycheck. So it's difficult, but it's at the same time, it's a lot of fun. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's crazy, but I love it.
So you get through these Mondays, you go to Toronto. Tell me about this Toronto adventure.
So crazy situation in Toronto this year. I flew to Toronto, got in kind of late, didn't get to play a practice round at the golf course, just because I was playing in the Florida Open. I had just finished up the Florida Open in Innisbrook this year. So flew in late to Toronto, planned on showing up Monday morning for my tee time, or Monday afternoon for my tee time, and just going from there and just trying to, pick the golf course apart from what I see. Well, the whole first wave of Monday qualifiers went out. Low scores were posted, and I was ready to go. And then all of a sudden this rain came in, and we had to show up the next morning. I said, you know what? Hey, that's a good break. I don't have to play on greens where 80 people have already gone out and played. I'll get fresh greens tomorrow morning. I'll be ready to go. So next morning, winds are blowing 15 to 20. So clearly not the same conditions. One morning they had no wind. The next morning I had wind. So really you got 2 different tournaments. And that's another situation of what can happen with Monday qualifiers. You get the bad end of the draw, or any tournament.
Sure.
So we're playing this Monday qualifier. I end up shooting 70. That's not good enough. Needed 68, I think, with the wind. Needed 68 was the playoff. It was probably a 9-way playoff or 2 spots or something. And then I said, okay, well, what am I doing next? I called up the Bangor Open in Maine.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
There's something to do, something to play in. You got to find something to play in. So I'm looking for flights to Bangor, and can't find flights. Finally find one. It's like $700.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not happening. So I go to the airport, get a rental car, and I drive from Toronto to Bangor, Maine. Now, I'm thinking I'm going to have a nice little cruise. So I'm driving. I'm in the middle of my 12-hour drive. I'm like, it's 4 o'clock. I'll call Bangor. I just want to see what my Pro-Am tee time is tomorrow, whatever. My Pro-Am tee time's at 7 a.m. I've got 10 more hours to drive. It's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Fantastic. So get all the way across the border. I get all the way to the border in Quebec to Maine. And the lady at the Border Patrol pulls me out and says, so what are you doing? I go, I'm going to it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm going to Bangor. She's like, why are you going to Bangor? I said, I'm actually going to play golf. She's like, so you're crossing the border at 1 a.m. to go play golf? I said, yeah, I got 7:30 tee time. She's like, you're joking. I said, no, I'm serious. She goes, I don't believe you. So I guess she says, I need you out of the car. I'm going to check your trunk. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting security check because I'm going to play golf.
Nice.
She opens my golf bag. She looks at my golf bag. She goes, you're really going to play golf? I said, yeah, I've driven 10 hours to get here. I still got 2 more to go. And so I finally get to my Ramada hotel at 2 a.m. I get 4 hours of sleep, or 3 a.m. I get 4 hours of sleep. I get right to the tee, 7:15 in the morning, go out, win the Pro-Am, and the Bangor Open Pro-Am,
Of course.
show up for the tournament, and ended up shooting 67, 63, 64, and won the tournament.
So
Crazy that.
Yeah,
that whole situation was kind of.
I mean, I hate to break this to you, but I don't think I think it's better if you just kind of stay on PGA Tour Canada with all these travel. I mean, if you start doing the private jet route, you'll be completely out of your element. I mean, I don't think that's going to work for you.
No, I think I ought to just do crazy deadlines and just try to just barely make tee times, and maybe I'll do all right.
Yeah, I think you need to call up TJ Vogel and talk to him and work it out with him, because that guy seems to be the master of Mondays on the PGA Tour. So
yeah, I was gonna say, talk about a guy you want to talk to Monday. Talk about Mondays.
Yeah,
too.
that's yeah. He's in rare category, but no.
I got to play with him last year in Nova Scotia. Heck of a player. It's no surprise on why he Monday qualified into 8 tournaments this year. I mean, he's good, really good, solid player.
Yeah.
Solid golfer. There's another success story coming off the Canadian Tour.
I know.
This is another one. So.
Well, Michael, you've been giving us great stories this entire episode, most of them at your expense. I kind of feel bad about that. Do you have any stories?
I got a real funny one for you.
Okay, so tell me how to.
Let's talk about the day I met you.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jupiter Hills.
All right, hold on. Let me tee it up a little bit. Let me tee up the story a little bit.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So this is so we've been through your professional career, your upbringing in golf, but it occurs to me that I'm going to give you the upper hand here in this part of the podcast episode. It is your episode after all, and you apparently would like to tell a story of how you met me. So I'm sure this is going to be embarrassing, but you go ahead.
I would love for people to hear this. So here we go.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
I'm showing up. I qualified for my first ever tournament I qualified for, and it's the state amateur at Jupiter Hills. And I get in basically on the number, and I get paired up with this guy, Ben Adelberg. Never heard of him. I don't know any of these guys, the local guys, whatever.
Well, it's all changed now. Everyone knows me now, Michael.
Yeah, everybody knows you. Well, here I am thinking I'm some hotshot kid who had no business. I show up with a TaylorMade R7 tour bag to my state am third round with a Puma belt buckle that was probably the size of, as you described it, a license plate. And this guy walks up on the tee, says, "Hi, I'm Ben." And I'm like, "Hi, I'm Mike. Nice to meet you," whatever. And we're on the tee, and he's getting ready to announce our names. And he goes, you say, "Hey, bro, what are you doing with a tour bag and a belt buckle the size of a license plate, man? Who dressed you?" Meanwhile, the guy I'm looking at's in bright pink shorts, bright pink shirt, white belt, and pink colored irons on the back of his bag. And I'm like, who the heck is this cat?
That sounds like me. That does sound like me.
Who am I talking to here? What am I dealing with?
I mean, pink Mizuno T-Zoid Pro irons.
Yes, with pink
paint
little
fill.
Nail polish. Yeah.
No, that wasn't nail polish. I had those sent out custom. Pink paint fill. You can't find that anywhere. Yeah, that was the 2008 state amateur in Jupiter Hills. Yes.
Needless to say, 18 holes later, we're friends, and 10 years later, we're doing a podcast.
Exactly. So it's worked out well for you.
Yeah.
So no, that definitely was. Boy, that golf course ate our lunch, didn't it?
Yeah, no doubt. That's an incredible track.
Yeah,
incredible.
And that's why I am hosting a podcast. And you are barely able to cross the border in Canada to get into PGA Tour, Mackenzie Tour events. So
what a kickoff around with Ben Adelberg.
There you go. So before we get you out of here, because I'm sure you have more embarrassing stories about me to share, we're going to cut that off really quick. But before we get you out, we do have a quick segment always here at the podcast called the Quick Bucket at the back of the range. So these are standard questions we always like to ask, get a little bit of different take. So first one is Jack Nicklaus. Now remember, you're a Bears Club guy. So Jack Nicklaus won the Masters in 1986 at the age of 46. Compare that to a potential fifth green jacket of Tiger Woods. Which would be the more substantial victory, do you think?
Gosh, man, you put me on the spot. I would say it's a cooler story. I would say it's a better story. It might be one of the, if Tiger won another green jacket, it might be one of the greatest American sports stories of all time.
Yeah.
Just the rise, the fall, the comeback, the whole thing would be incredible. Yeah. But I'm a huge Tiger fan. I grew up watching Tiger.
Yeah.
So
let's see. Another one for you. If you could give a major championship to anyone in history, whether they're alive or dead, they have no majors, they have 18 majors, who would you give a major championship to? And unfortunately, can't give it to yourself. We've had to make that rule.
Oh man, if I could give it to one person, Alex Morin.
Okay. First person to throw that name out there. Any particular reason?
Yeah, well, I mean, getting to work at the Bears Club, I've gotten to know him a little bit. That guy is the best, the nicest, one of the nicest, the coolest. He's awesome. Awesome. He's just a great guy. And I think if you've gotten to know him, I mean, one day he's been up and down on tour, and 2 years ago, I think he won 4 times on the European Tour, and he finally broke into the top 50 world rankings, and he actually got in the top 10. And come January 1st, he came up to me on the range. He goes, "Hey, Mike, I qualified for the Masters. I'm so pumped." Like, he was so pumped. He was like a little kid in a candy store.
That's awesome.
Gets to go to his first Masters. And I mean, you see a guy, you don't really get to see the background of these guys, and to see him so pumped to go play in his first Masters, and when he won 4 times that year, and he works his butt off. And so just to see how hard he works, and coming back from wrist surgeries and to being the top 20 player in the world consistently is pretty impressive. I would give it to him.
Nice. What, before I let you go, I totally forgot to ask you this question. These guys get equipment thrown at them from all of their, equipment sponsors, and anyone that's got a newfangled wedge or putter or driver, or, hey, check this out, or whatever. What's been one of the most just eye-opening, jaw-dropping things you've seen out there with these guys with all their gear? I mean, do they just have dozens of wedges and putters and just stuff all over the place?
They do. So Luke Donald had me grind down one of his wedges. He comes up to me. I mean, I do a lot of the club. I've done some of the club repair over at Bears Club. I've gotten pretty good at it. And so Luke Donald heard I was the guy. So he comes over to me and goes, "Hey, can you grind a wedge?" Yeah.
This is like the best bunker player of the last 20 years.
I got to grind this guy's custom wedge from Mizuno that he pulled out of the box. I'm like, okay, great. So I get this grinder out, and he's standing right next to me. So I start grinding his wedge, and I put it in there, I grind a little bit, and he goes, he's like, "I asked you to grind it." I'm like, "You want me to go at this thing?" He's like, "Yeah, grind it." So I put it in there, and I start grinding it down. He goes, "Hey, man, I've got 600 of these back at the house." Okay, all right, I'll grind it. Just shoved it in there and just started grinding the crap out of it.
You're protecting this one single Mizuno wedge like he just went over to the PGA Superstore with his American Express card and bought it with his rewards points.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's got a pallet of them in his garage.
Right, and as soon as he said, "No, I got 600 of them," I'm like, "All right, now we'll go at it. You can get another one."
Oh gosh, yeah. That's I guess that's another reason why they're on a different planet than us. But you're going to get to that planet as soon as we need to get you a traveling secretary though. That is
gotten pretty good at it.
We're going to find you someone to get you around. So, well, Michael, listen, I really appreciate the time that you gave us tonight to join us here at the back of the range. We will definitely get some back of the range mojo going for you. It seems to be helping everyone that comes on the podcast, whether they qualify for events or win events. See if we can get some of that going your way. And best of luck.
Send it the second week of October for Q-School.
We can do that. We will definitely do that, and we'll definitely keep track of what you're doing, and we'll revisit with you next year when you're on the web.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
And there you have it. Another great episode here at the Back of the Range. Thank you so much to Michael Kartrude for joining us this week. Keep submitting reviews in Apple Podcasts. Let me know what you think of the podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget, Next week, we'll be back with another episode here at the Back of the Range.